Hi, welcome to the Reach Around. I won't give you one, but I will give you our premiere episode. We're back. Thank you all for viewing or being live in chat. Definitely let us know what's going on as we are viewing us. Let us know your opinions if you have any questions. But yeah, we're really excited to be back. I'm going to introduce my guest in a second, but really quickly, we're going to talk about some of the new things going on with the Reach Around. I know that it's been hotly anticipated. um, so, really quickly, as you can now see, it's a new format. We're not recording and posting on YouTube. We're going to be live on Twitch, and then we're going to be posting on YouTube and our Instagram. So definitely keep an eye out for those if you want to rewatch because you're that entertained. It is that much fun to be here. Um, Oh, also, the audio is going to be posted on Spotify, so you could just listen to it on your way to work. You have no excuse to not listen to us.
Right.
I also we're doing away with kind of like the little segments thing. Now it's just gonna be one show. I'm going to be your host, Mimito. Hi, I use he they
Yes.
pronouns, and I'm the program coordinator here at Reach LA. So it's just gonna be me and a new guest every single week. Also, for our community members, definitely let us know if you want to be interviewed or you have a topic you want to talk about. Let us know because we're gonna be here. Um, and yeah, I'm really excited to open it up. We do have a packed season already. We have 6 episodes coming up, including this one. So that'll take us all the way through, I want to say October. October will be the ending of season one. So we have that all set. If you go to our Instagram, you'll see the album cover with all the 6 guests, including Victor here, who we'll be introducing. And the next episode is actually already set to be next week. So definitely get ready. I'll talk more about that at the end of the episode, but we're really excited for that as well. So, as you can see, I'm not here alone. Unless you're listening on Spotify, then you've just heard me and some yasses in the background. But it's not just me. I am joined here with, and I wrote this all out, Victor Hugo Marroquín, who is a queer Chapin and Chicano activist. Also, feel free to cut me off at any point and
No,
say
you're doing
like
good.
you're
Thank
wrong.
you.
Born in East Hollywood or Koreatown and Dongva land,
Yes.
Dongva, to a mixed status immigrant family, Victor graduated from UC Riverside with majors in philosophy, gender and sexuality, and education. 3 majors.
Right.
Right. And is now Reach LA's youth justice coordinator who has helped launch successful programs like our HEAP program and lead queer sexual health empowerment presentations at Occidental College. Oxy. All of this, of course, is overshadowed by the fact that they are in Aquarius. Welcome, Victor.
Woo! Wow. Thank you so much, Mito. That
Yeah.
was a lovely introduction. I wonder who wrote it.
Uh,
I get it.
they don't pay. We don't have anybody on like payroll to like write this out for us. You know.
No, that was great. I'm super excited to be here. Like Mito said, it's like the first. So I'm also like still relatively a new staff member here at Reach LA. So it's just been such a great time, and I'm just so happy to be in the capacity to be able to share about myself and what we're gonna be having going on for the rest of the year.
Yeah, thank you. Before we even get into the meat of this episode, I do want Victor to lead us in a land acknowledgement. I
Yes.
think that's very important to do. So take it away.
Yeah, super important. Thank you for giving me that space, Mito. So, a land acknowledgement, y'all, is like even right now that it's Hispanic Heritage Month, it started today. Like, we're in Los Angeles, very diverse, like, home to many people. We always still have to remember to honor the original current caretakers of the land, water, and air of Los Angeles, which are known as the Tongva people, Gabrieleño, Fernandeño, and Cahuilla peoples. Today, LA is home to many indigenous peoples from all over the world, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to live and work on these homelands. So, in whichever platform y'all are joining us today, whether it be in LA or maybe you're joining from somewhere else, please take the moment to acknowledge and recognize the original and current caretakers of the land, water, and air. Thank you so much.
Thank you for doing that. We
Yeah.
definitely need to start leading with that for a lot of events that we have. We have a lot of things coming up too, so definitely excited to implement that as a kind of standard that we do at Reach LA for sure.
Yeah, right. And I think that like it's also more so like of a cultural thing because oftentimes like we it's just like in schools we never knew that. You know, even myself like I had to go to a 4 year university to even recognize like whose lands are not because again y'all just quickly reiterate antes que estas tierras eran mexicanas los Estados Unidos they have always been indigenous lands.
Period. Exactly. So This episode is actually very intentional. It wasn't set to be the premiere, but we were so excited about it because today is also the first day of Hispanic, Latine, Latinx Heritage Month. And
Woo!
that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today. And I'm really
Yeah.
excited to have you here for that because you're very well educated on it. You know, three majors is a lot. But I want to start off our conversation today with something that we talk about every single year. And it's actually not something that I prepared you for in our outline. So I'm sorry to
No, you're
spring this on
totally
you.
good. I'm ready.
Honestly, it's comes down to preference, but also I think it does hold some weight. For you, is it Hispanic Heritage Month, Latine Heritage Month, Latinx, or like what do you prefer to be like referred to as? What do you use?
We're going in already.
Let's
All
go
right,
in.
like
Yeah, that's
let's
why we're
unpack
here.
these terms. So I know you said Hispanic, Latinx. Out of all the three, I'm just already gonna tell y'all that like Hispanic is probably like my least favorite, just because like even in the word Hispanic, Spanish, it goes back to that. So to me, it ties back to like that coloniality, and so without a doubt, myself, like a lot of Latina people, mestizaje, like we are Spanish descent. And then with like Latine and Latinx, that is a way of referring to people of Latin America, which includes the continents, all the way from like Mexico, all the way down south to Argentina, and even parts of the Caribbean, like Puerto Rico and Cuba. And so Latinx was like, it's actually a relatively new term. It's been around for like, I want to say a little bit over 10 years now. It's a way that we could also refer to our communities as being like gender neutral. And that's the X. And when it comes between Latinx and Latine, I kind of prefer Latine a little bit more, just because I feel like it flows a little bit more with Spanish. In Espanol, like everything ends with a vowel. And like people have already been saying like that term like la más draga. Like I think they say like, oh, bienvenides like Latines. So I do like that like Latina has a term, but so that's the terms for myself personally. I like to get specifically. My dad is I like I ask people and the culture that I come from.
Awesome, thank you for that. I know I definitely Latinx also did feel very weird.
Yeah.
And the way that when I discuss it with people, it's almost like Latinx wasn't created by anyone in Central
Mm,
America or like from home.
right.
It was kind of invented here in America as a way to kind of like make it gender neutral,
Mm-hmm.
which I see the effort. But we have Latine now, Latine,
Yeah.
which is also I agree. I prefer Latine 100%. Um, and then in terms of like Hispanic Heritage Month, it's kind of just I didn't even until I saw Iggy, who is our producer and behind the camera, along with Jake. Hey guys,
Hey,
thank you for Jake. Also, by the way, will be on watching Twitch, and he will be letting us know if there's anything y'all are asking. So definitely ask away. But yeah, it's we have the post up, and we included all of them just because people identify with different things,
mm-hmm.
but it's definitely important to have that conversation and acknowledge what people are comfortable with. So
Exactly.
yeah.
And if it's okay to like interject, just because I feel like even with the terms Latina, Latinx, Hispanic, I feel like these are very large terms that like seek to generalize like a lot of people. And I feel like this is an influence of capitalism and colonialism. It's like what's easiest to consume, right? Because the reality is that like we're encompassing two continents, so many different countries, and also like Latina, those are cultural terms. Those are not racial terms. So like we're also not getting into like the different languages like folks speak within these areas as well. It's not just Spanish. There's so many indigenous dialects that are spoken as well. So I feel like I kind of see Latinx sometimes like as horchata, where it's just like okay, like this is what's very consumable. You're
Mm-hmm.
all this, not because when we get into like the nitty gritty of the nuances, the complications, it's just like that's not easy to consume and like
Right.
cater to. So I feel like those is already like kind of my critiques of Latina and Latinx. But as someone who also like went to Puerto Rico,
Mm-hmm.
once like even just be as someone who's like Mexican, Guatemalan American, I was like hearing in San Juan, that's mainly where I was on the capital of Puerto Rico. Like so many of the music that they were playing in San Juan was also like things I grew up at, like the carne asadas, the cumbia asada. I was like, wow, there really is like a shared culture among like music, language. But they were able to sniff me out. They're like, eres
They knew right
mexicano.
away.
How they sound myself. I was like, oh, they clocked me.
Damn.
Yeah,
Really?
but I also learned that I'm linguistically perceived as Mexican abroad.
Okay.
Like I was like, I had to be like, oh, también soy guatemalteco. I'm
Mm-hmm.
also Guatemalan, so it made me a little sad, but it just gave me that perspective. So I
Yeah.
do definitely feel like we do have a shared cultural identity.
And you bring something up in all of that that I think is really important that just we need to discuss. Mexican horchata or salvi horchata?
For me, it's salvi horchata.
Yeah,
But
okay.
but actually, I mean, but But the supreme is Oaxacan horchata.
Oh,
For
okay.
me,
Just
because
I've
they
never had
put
that.
tuna and cacahuate. I know, shout out to Iggy right here. Like, I know, just because, like, have you ever had Oaxacan horchata?
Mm-mm.
It's pink. They put peanuts and they put fruit in it and they give it
Oh,
to you on a big spoon.
okay.
Like, highly recommend. But salvi horchata is also supreme.
So I take the win for El Salvador. Both of my parents are Salvi. My mother
Hey,
from the capital, San Salvador, and my dad from Chalatenango. And I hate Salvi horchata. I know. I'm sorry. I just
God.
I'm definitely more of a savory person.
Yeah.
So it's strange to me that I don't like it. I prefer Mexican horchata. And I don't drink it a lot to begin with, but I would prefer the sweet one.
Okay,
You know.
noted.
Mm-hmm.
Something interesting about horchata though, it's actually of African origin.
Oh, okay, yeah. I
Yeah.
did see this
Mhm.
on online recently. There was a
Mhm.
lot of discourse on Twitter about this.
Exactly. And I mean, it goes back to the conversation we're having, right, with like Latina. It's like, who even gets to be like
Mm-hmm.
Latina? Who gets to be identified as such? You know, like I feel like the way we kind of look, like we're all like they can be like, oh my God, Latina, it's like
Yeah.
that. But like, who also is left out of that conversation?
Mm-hmm.
Which is it's oftentimes it's like Black, African, Indigenous people. So you know,
A hundred
just
percent.
very important for us to be very critical of that
Yeah.
as well.
And I'm gonna now lead into this next segment because you bring
Mm.
up identities, and there's something that you and I share, which is that we are both queer and Latine. And growing up, very that that intersectionality definitely, at least speaking for myself, was definitely something to navigate and go through that I'm sure a lot of people could relate to.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to kind of like talk to you about that and see how that journey was for you when you first started realizing like, okay, I have this identity as a Latin, and we'll say even at this time, Latino.
Yeah.
Like it just
Yeah, no, that
sexu-
that fits with me.
sexuality came kind of, at least for me, came first, and then putting
Mm.
that in terms of okay, I'm starting to become this thing, but I've always been this thing as well. What does that intersectionality look like?
Mm.
Especially at a young age when we didn't have as much vocabulary as we do on it. So yeah,
Right.
tell me about your story and how that came to be.
Yeah, you know, I feel like with Latino, Latina, Latina culture, I feel like honestly for me personally, I feel like our culture is like really gay and flamboyant.
Okay.
Like the way we like dance our music, the way we are, like even because for myself personally, like I'm like first born to a mixed status immigrant family, you know, and I feel like I my femininity and my queerness honestly was like always celebrated in a way because like I love dancing, so I was celebrated like and also being raised by like three women. Like the way I grew up is like my parents always had to like work at night.
Mm-hmm.
So like I would like kind of like wake up at my grandma's house. She would take us to school, my grandma and my grandpa. My mom would pick us up and then in the afternoon they'd take us back. So I was and then my tia was also a big girl. So I was raised by like three women in that process and then also my grandpa and my father as well, you know, but just really having these role of like these like very passionate dramatic women, you know, I feel they also like even the way like I feel Latino men are very vain and like you know getting our eyebrows done, you know, being like vanidosos, you know, that's a big part. I feel like it's more so like when we kind of start for me personally when I started growing up that we kind of got it language for it and then also like when I started going to like first communion classes, Catholic church, dun dun dun, you know,
Ooh,
like
and we'll talk about it.
yeah, you know,
We'll talk about it.
that's when I feel like as soon as we kind of got language for it, it was like, oh wait, and like I feel like watching telenovelas as well with like my grandma, like the gay characters were always used as a joke, or like
Mm-hmm.
when like the men with like cross dress on there, like that's kind of my first exposure of being like, oh wait, like this is bad. And it was like I remember one time going to church, and it was around the time that like it was like Prop 8. And it was like a misa, you know. It was like
Mm-hmm.
the Latino, like for like the Latinx families, and like they were trying to get all the families to like vote against like same sex marriage,
Oh,
and it was
wow.
just like I think that was a realization for me that I was like, wait, like this is a bad thing. And I think I
Mm-hmm.
was like around 10 or 12, and in middle school, like that's when we go through puberty, and like I was kind of coming to terms, like realizing I was like attracted to boys. So that was like dark ages, and I went to Fairfax High School. For those of you who don't know, that's where like they have the Melrose Trading Post. It's really close to West Hollywood. So, like after school, like I would go to WeHo and I'd just be like, oh my god, it's just like so cool here, you know, like. And then school
I
I'd be
just like
like,
the vibes.
yeah, I'm an
It's just
ally, you
cool.
know, like I just like I go out of my way to go home at 10 p.m. You know, just so I can go at the Starbucks, specifically at the WeHo,
Mm-hmm.
Starbucks. So I feel like that's how I was engaged, but like I knew in high school,
Yeah.
you know. So that's do you also want me to go then like when I got into college or
Sure, we have the
okay,
time.
sure. And then me honestly, I'm very fortunate because I know that you brought up, oh, what came for you first, like your queerness, your culture, your sexuality. I feel like I'm very fortunate that I went to UC Riverside, and I want to give a shout out to like some of the people there at Chicano student programs, Arlincano Matute, Estela Cunha, and the LGBT Center, Nancy Tubbs, Toy, and Megan, because we actually hosted well, I didn't host, but they organized the first queer and trans Latinx college conference. It's called Presente. And that's actually how I met Celestial, who is now my
Oh,
program's manager. Yeah, I met Celestial 5 years ago,
damn,
or
wow.
6 years ago now at this conference. I know, I didn't think she liked me at first. I was like, but it's just a Scorpio energy, Scorpio
Hmm.
baddie. And like, for me, it was like, that was the first moment that I was like, full on pride. And the fact that like, it was able to be in a capacity where it's like, my culture and my queerness and this gender identity is like being celebrated was just like everything. And then it had like
Nice.
me all of high school. I'd never smoked weed, but I smoked weed at the after party because like I
Oh,
just felt like I finally had a community that I can trust and
change your
stuff.
life.
Yeah, it was life changing.
Hmm.
And then honestly, I would say that moment then is like boom. Is like what even is what got me to do this work to could do the community and even be here now at Reach LA. And yeah, that's so I'm very fortunate that we had folks out there who saw the need for that
Hmm.
and who sacrificed before, because we haven't always had those
Yeah.
spaces.
I love to hear that they almost came like hand in hand, you know.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things that you said that I resonated with. Not so much that I like, almost on an opposite side of things, you know, personally. For me, the dancing really stuck to me, you
Yeah,
know.
because you
But
cut up, Mimito.
I
I've seen
do,
you.
you know. If you see me at the precinct, no, you didn't. Um, so what I was gonna say was that when it comes to dancing, I would want to go out and dance with my family. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
they would be calling us. They'd be like, "Bahan," we'd all be upstairs playing video games, and they'd call us downstairs. Their favorite, all the tias would want to like take the kids out to the dance floor. But I grew up with my brother, who is two
Mm-hmm.
years younger than me, and then all of my cousins, and there was a lot of us, all boys. So
Wow.
yeah, I don't know what happened. We recently had the first girl, you know, like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know what was going on. But all of the boys, there was this like, I don't want to dance. Like that's for the girls. And it didn't
Mm-hmm.
help that like my dad and my uncles were all also just like, you know, backs on the wall, not wanting to dance. So I didn't get that experience, and I, as you know, love to dance.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it definitely, I was definitely like sitting amongst the boys, like I don't want to, no, yeah, I don't want to dance.
You gotta
That's
suppress it.
yeah, 100%.
Mm.
Um, and then we'll talk about gender in a bit too. But it even came down to like the foods that we would eat. Like I said, I'm Salvi, so we eat pupusas all the time. And I remember my dad said it. It was especially too when Miss Central America, I want to say it was the first year that a Salvi woman won, and
Oh
then this
wow.
whole it was ridiculous. This whole thing happened where they said it was revealed that she didn't eat her pupusas with her hands. She ate them with a fork. And
Gag.
all the Salvi community was like, she's not even a real Salvi person. And
Fuerte.
hand in hand with that, I even to this day, I do not like eating food with my hands unless it's like a French fry or something, you know, or burger, but something that
And tacos,
hmm.
right? I'm sure you don't you use fork and knife
Listen,
for tacos.
I have this aversion to it. I know.
I want to see how you. I'm open to. I just
Like
want to see how you do
I do it, you know, but it makes me uncomfortable. And that's why I actually don't eat a lot of tacos to begin with.
Okay.
But it's the fact that like growing up, even just getting on my face, I had this aversion to it, and then it got really hammered in when my mom would be like, "Come como un hombre, agárralo," and like, yeah, exactly. So already I was
She's
being
like, eat the
told,
pussy up, eat
"Oh
the
my god,"
pussy up.
I was being hammered in, and it's just yeah, and well, which is hilarious because my mom always said to me, "Sorry, the two worst things that you can do is get someone pregnant and be gay." So immediately I was like, what am I meant to do here? What am I supposed to do with this piece of information, mom? Because she saw
Yeah,
it. She
it's a
saw it at a young
lot,
age. Yeah, she saw it at a young age. And then I think that to kind of like push the story along a little bit here, like when I got to college, you know, I had come out to people in high school, which was very bold of me, by the way. If I had to, this is I
You
just
did that.
I flip on this every single day though of like if I could talk to 16-year-old Guillermo, I'd say on some days I'll say yeah, do it, go for it. On other days I'd say don't do it, don't do it. You know,
Mm.
it switches for me because it
It's
definitely
real.
got a lot
Survival is
worse.
real at the end of the
Oh,
day,
for sure. But because of that, I definitely like separated the two identities. You know, the whole when I
Mm.
moved to college because I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. So
Yeah.
that, to give some
No, it's
context to
important to
that, yeah.
know.
I graduated high school and then I went to Whittier College here in LA. And I had never been to LA. I just did the Common App and just sent applications out everywhere. Whittier
Yeah.
accepted me. They gave me a lot of money because I had a really great
Big
GPA.
purr.
And I just came out here. I had never even visited LA, and I came almost by myself with my best friend Chelsea
That
from
is
Cleveland.
fierce,
hmm
Mimito.
And just
Wow.
went for it. I don't regret that decision at all. But what I do regret is the distinction I made between these two identities. I kind of left Latinidad in Cleveland with my family. I made that distinction and went, okay, now I'm here. Now I'm gonna explore this identity. I'm gonna run with
Mm.
this. And it isn't until honestly, like even like just barely before starting at Reach LA that I started to like again celebrate that Latinidad and that identity, being
Right.
surrounded by people who I see have that like intersectionality and learning from it. And even being like friends with Jake, who is our producer and director behind the camera, like I said. I made friends with Jake at Whittier College in my sophomore year, and he is very, he's from East LA, he's Latino down.
Jake's a beaner. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so
Twitch, no. Okay, we're live on Twitch. We can't
Oh,
say
we can't.
slurs.
Okay, sorry.
No, we can cuss, but we gotta be careful with the slurs.
Okay. I
Right?
think,
Okay,
I'm
beaner's
like, but I'm
okay.
reclaiming the word.
Yeah, Twitch, like this is our identity,
Right.
but they'll still flag us. Um, so even like it was a big joke, and not one that I took very personally because it's true. It's like I was very whitewashed. I was very, I wasn't connected to the culture. My Spanish was something that I needed to practice more. It's not bad, but the one time I went to El Salvador, similar to you, I thought my Spanish was great. This is the first time I
And
realized
they
that at
clocked you.
14 years old. They were like, "Oh, qué lindo está tratando." Está templando la lengua. And I was like, I thought my Spanish was good. They thought I was trying to learn. And it was my first
Ah,
language too. So I was gagged.
right.
But yes.
But I do really appreciate like all this perspective like you're giving, and at the end, like it's really real. I feel like when you were kind of going through college, just because I feel like in LA we do have the spaces. So like, thank you for even offering that perspective of like what that looked like in Ohio. Just because like I would go to Chirla a lot, the Coalition of Humane Immigrant Rights of Los Angeles, and they already kind of had an LGBT kind of group. So
Okay.
that was going up, but like just to like, unfortunately, like those are parts of our culture that do betray us, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
like Gloria Anzaldúa, renowned Chicana feminist writer, rest in peace. Also controversial, but she does have a chapter in her book, like the Borderlands, that there's parts of our culture that betray us. So at the end of the day, it's like you also have to suppress that part of yourself, and then also just live authentically yourself because Latinidad and your culture, it was hurting you,
Mhm. Oh,
So
for sure.
I just, I see you in that kind of way. So like, I don't know. At the end of the day, I'm also very critical of like what it means to like be whitewashed, or like who gets to be Latin, because it's just like who gets to even say that,
Yeah,
you know?
Jake.
Fuerte. I'm the gatekeeper for Latinidad. I'm
Okay,
kidding.
got it. Victor at Reach LA is deciding who gets to say beaner. No,
It's open
okay.
to everyone.
And one thing you had mentioned too as well is masculinity and machismo.
Hmm.
And so my last year at Whittier, I majored in psychology. I didn't
Mm.
have three majors, but I had that one. And my final project that I did on was the effects of masculinity on different populations.
Mm.
Specifically, I took data from the Black community, the queer community, Latinx community,
Yeah.
Asian Pacific Islander, and very problematically, I didn't even say API back then. I just had Asian, which is not
We're
very
expanding
inclusive.
our
You
language
know,
now. We know
I
better
was
now.
21. But I'm sorry.
No,
But
you're
one
good,
thing
bro.
that I found interesting was that all of them have had obviously a very negative effect on those
Mm.
populations, masculinity and the evolution into toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
And I think we can see that. I think the two of us aren't here like defending toxic masculinity. Like it's a very obvious. That was my hypothesis to begin with.
Mm.
But what I found interesting was that the Latine community actually did have a slight positive implication,
Mm.
but it wasn't from masculinity or machismo, but it was caballerismo. So it's
Mm.
almost like this evolution that we saw from, like, say, our generation viewing machismo within our parents, our dad, and like our family. And I'll speak for myself here. It was like watching my dad be this, like, pride as something, orgullo as something very special to the Latinx people, and watching my dad kind of be this person and this strong individual, like these positive traits that came with that orgullo, like how hard he worked for his family. The whole trek here was is quite a story, and just like seeing that hard work associated. But along with that came a lot of the repression of emotions, the fear of femininity, how they treat their women.
Girl.
Right. And then as a young person viewing that, it was almost like I see all these positive traits that I would like to keep, but I need to do away with the like those things that are holding our people back.
Right.
And that's the evolution to caballerismo, which is still like that masculine pride, but the acknowledgement of emotion being saved. Is that something that you've like kind of witnessed yourself?
Yeah, no, I feel like prior to us having this podcast, you mentioned that term to me, and that's the first time I got exposed to it. And I did look a little bit into it, and I saw it the way it was being presented online as like a counter framework to machismo. And I mean, I personally like the thing is like there's toxic masculinity, but sometimes that we don't talk about is like there's also healthy masculinity. And I feel like a lot of the conversations with like manhood, this is like everyone hurts, even like the men are being included, but I feel like men also like need to also recognize the harm they then cause to other people, women,
100%.
trans people, gender non-conforming folks. So like I'm for caballerismo, and I feel like just because like I dated a guy for a bit who like had been dating a woman for like 10 20 years, like 10 years I wasn't. So like he treated me kind of like, and it was just different. Like he was so traditional in the sense that like he would have me walk on the side of the road, on the sidewalk where like the woman has to walk, and he wouldn't want to tell me. So like it was really nice, just because like I feel like the getting specifically to like even like gay men, butch queens up in this, it's like I feel like a lot of toxic masculinity, at least even for like gay men and gay boys, gets like masked under like being catty and sassy and like toxic, right? And me all problematic, I'm like, be a man. I'm kidding. Like if I have to like be like just in like that kind of way, like it does feel nice, and like I like the responsibility that's like also put on like men to like also have to be accountable for the harm, because like something that I did see in Kai is like you have to be compassionate. And if you are gonna, because like me, like my father, I feel like is always the one who had to like take care, because like in like a healthy masculine, like it's you're the protector, as well. So it's like you need to step up to the role. And then like I'm also thinking of something that Nicki Minaj said once, where she's like, real men don't argue with women, like real men shut the fuck up. And I'm like, I agree with her. I agree with her. Ooh, it's like
We have a lot of barbs in this office. But
yeah. So on the intersectionality of queerness, Latinidad, barbs.
Yeah, and there's a whole episode dedicated to get ready for Pink Friday too, you guys.
Oh my god, it's gonna be the EJ episode, huh?
Oh my god, don't give it away.
Oh, sorry.
There was no guessing.
I mean, how?
Okay, so I definitely appreciate that perspective, and like you're just everything that you said. Definitely appreciate it. What I want to move into now, we had mentioned you as the youth justice coordinator here at HLA, and you're leading the Behold Our Legacy grant. So this is funny, and this is actually the Latinx Heritage Month became a, not to put it negatively, but it was a convenient like, oh, Victor's episode is around that time, and we have a lot to talk about with that.
Yeah.
But what actually inspired me to have you on was you and I recently, like maybe now like a month ago, had a conversation on. So that's where we are similar in.
Yeah.
Something that we don't agree on, and just have different opinions on are. This is gonna make me sound like such an asshole.
No,
but is youth.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of kids, and we had this conversation recently. Your whole programming is about engaging youth, and just tell us a little bit about that. What inspired you to get into this? Because you worked at an organization before where you did similar.
A Latino Equality Alliance in Boa Heights.
So what got you into this?
So thank you for the platform. I feel like for myself now, like it's such an honor. For those of you who don't know, like Elevate Youth California is something new that we have here at Reach LA. And it's actually supported through cannabis taxes. So if you smoke weed, thank you so much. You're getting me paid. You're supporting Reach LA programs and services. So you did that. But also for like more context, is specifically for like young students who have been directly impacted by the war on drugs. Like that's where the funding comes from. And what we're doing here at Reach LA is that we're trying to create policy advocacy efforts, leadership development, where we're making and creative arts, multimedia production, where our youth in high schools, community colleges, universities are going to be the ones to have agency and ownership. to be able to make policy changes that they want to see in their school. So it's like maybe their school doesn't have a gender inclusive. So it's like we're gonna be helping them. Maybe some of them like want to have direct access to like HIV testing. Maybe at their school the students are just getting expelled for no reason. So it ties into a lot of different things, but we're in conversation with the youth. I feel like honestly I'm so blessed and honored to do the work that this like even if like in the past when I first started this career, like it didn't pay me a lot, but it's like I get to be someone who as serves as a guide and gets to like uplift and provide resources and just for these young people like when I didn't have one. You know, so it just like that's what it is, just tying even back to what it goes to like behold our legacy is like because to me I feel like Latinidad, like just coming from immigrants, being part of a queer and trans community is like we're intergenerational. So you know, it's like we're able to do this so much from the people who came before us and sacrificed. And like something too is like the kids are getting gayer and gayer. Like let me tell you, like Alphabet Mafia is here, okay? So so like there's some like I feel like I get to learn from them as well. Even though sometimes even with them I'm a little like what is this? Like I have to like check myself and it gives me that opportunity. I think with the conversation with you where like when you were like, oh I don't like youth, I was like, bro, you work at a youth serving organization.
I do.
But I just feel too like in general, we live in a society that doesn't necessarily respect young people. And oftentimes we're like, oh, like, you don't know what you're saying. You're young. You don't have that. What it's actually like, no, like, as I've learned from like, and I've known, but like some of the young people in our program, like, he is like, these youth have gone through very real experiences. And they have such powerful narratives to bring. And they're amazing artists and leaders in their own right. So to me, it's just like, challenging also as well like who gets to learn because I know earlier like you brought up like oh Victor like you have 3 degrees and like I'm very proud of that like I did that but like I'm even someone who doesn't think I'm better than people who don't right like I come from a troquero. My dad actually his first job as a trucker was across the street from each other.
My dad was a troquero too.
Oh no way. Okay, on the intersectionality of that too. So you know it's just like and my mom's a custodian so to me it's like
my mom's a housekeeper.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Somehow. Okay, we need to unpack this later. Yeah. But you know, I bring those up and I want to recognize that even like as like I came out like even at times this violence like you know I don't we were able to do it from the sacrifices of folks who come and I feel like I'm someone who's also very critical of like what we define as like who's educated, who's intelligent because to me intelligence is just as subjective as beauty. Like I'm friends with so many musicians, artists here at Reach. We have like amazing dancers come through and performers. We like Celestial like being this photographer baddie like there's just so many different ways that someone can be intelligent that like I'm very critical of traditional forms of schooling where like oh you have a degree where it's like that's a piece of paper mamita you know like there's so much more than that you know so that and that's like with young people just maybe because they don't have these degrees people are like oh you don't have the age so that's how I was like hold on babe let's have some critical consciousness right now.
I actually when I went back home to Cleveland in 2019 I'm the only I want to say I think I might be the only one of my generation of kids in my family that has graduated from college.
Wow.
And I went back and all of my cousins they were starting to graduate or graduating because I was one of the older ones. All of them had said I just want to start working. I don't want to go to school anymore. And then all my tias are like, tell your cousins that they need to go to school. And I said, okay. So I went over to them and they followed me and I was like, hey, you don't want to go to school? And they're like, no, I just want to work. I said, why? And they were like, it's really expensive and I don't know what I want to do, you know, so I don't want to spend all that money. And I said, that's really smart. And my family looked at me and they were like, that's not what you were supposed to say. I'm not going to tell them to take these predatory loans out if they don't know what they want to do with it. And also, I respect education, you know, as a like a platform that or an elevated level that people have gotten to, you know, and have studied and worked hard for and taken out those predatory loans, you know, double-edged sword that they just started payments back this month.
It's a lot.
If you can look into the SAVE program, SAVE, SAFE. SAFE. It's saving me a lot of money, so definitely look into it, y'all. Reach out to me if you have any questions about it.
Okay, great.
But what I was gonna say was it just is something that also I agree like it is a status, but there's so many different avenues you can go in life to become successful, you know, and I use that in quotes because success looks different to a lot of different people.
Exactly.
I don't know if I ever want to be a homeowner or stay in one place.
Okay.
Or I know I don't want kids, you know, just to tie back to that conversation. But and to my family, they're like, well, what are you going to do with your life? And I'm like, enjoy it. It's my life. And that's it. Like, if I could look back on it 40 years from now and be like, oh, that was a lot of fun. I had a great time. That's a success to me. you know?
Yeah.
Um,
And I love that you said that because I feel like that's just like a big part of like being queer because it's like
mhm,
it's honestly like less so about like for me like sexual practices, yeah, like it's fun. We like to act the smoochie, have a good old time. But it's like who are you really as a person?
mhm.
How are you identifying like and having self determination? And I feel like for many of us it's like now it's like we're first gen, like we come from like these families where like but that's all they know. You know, and like in a way we break those intergenerational curses because I've seen so many folks now like who are older and like I don't know, I just feel like they don't seem happy. They you know,
I
they don't seem and I
entirely
just
agree.
don't want that to like be my narrative and it's just you know, like we only have one life,
And
you
it's
know?
not. It's hard because I feel the same way, but sometimes I almost feel a little judgmental saying that. But I'm not saying you are. I just
No.
it
I am
I
judgmental. I'm kidding though.
I just it comes from a place of like I just want the best for you because honestly like a lot of my own family, you know, and I want the best for you,
Exactly.
and you're kind of living this life of like, ugh.
It's because we also like at least in our culture I feel like we don't come from a place of like putting ourselves first.
Mhm.
You know, like for example, like my mom, I think like, I love them super, but like for example, like I think like taking days off of work
Mhm.
is seen as like really taboo
Mhm.
in our culture. Like when I'm like I'm just not feeling it. They're like like why not this? And then sometimes I like when I was at other jobs like I hate it. I'll be like man I fucking hate this job. Then my tia would be like no mijo like don't
Mhm.
say that like be thankful to God that you have this job. And it's just like we're so used to, and I think this is kind of me digressing a little, but now it even extends to media,
Mhm.
where like when sometimes like we're giving such trash representations, and we're expected to be thankful just because we're so desperate for something. We're just
Mhm.
like no, like let's really make like the best of it and be true to ourselves, to our best
Mhm.
capacity.
Love that. So yeah, that we stemmed from the Behold Our Legacy, you know,
Mm-hmm.
Grant and team. I want to. So that's the idea, you know,
Mm-hmm.
behind it and the passion. What do you have coming up, like you know, like a tangible thing for our audience to get excited for?
Okay, let me tell you. So, if you are a student, whether you are in high school or you're in community college, university, we're going to be in the development of a student council, youth council here at Reach LA. And so you actually will be incentivized $200 for every meeting you attend. I know, like I wish I had this. Get paid. It pays to be gay. It pay, it pays to be gay. There you go. I had to say it. But what I want to say with this is like you are going to be able to develop your own student advocacy efforts. And so like you're going to also be the founders of something policy and advocacy efforts that's new work. It's exciting here at Reach. And so that's specifically to the people that are in our program, but something that I want to open up to the community, super exciting, is that we're gonna have a Dia de los Muertos event here at Reach LA,
Ooh,
November 1st from
save
five
the
to seven. And
date.
then also thank you Mimito and Jake for willing to postpone and let us use the space that y'all use for gamer night to be able to have that. So you know we want to honor our community. Going back, Mimito, we're like oftentimes as like queer and trans people of color, queer and trans Latinas, however way we identify, we feel like we kind of have to compromise parts of who we are.
Mhm.
So for that day on this sacred holiday that you know is very important to many of us, like we want you to come and celebrate with us. We're gonna have some bomb food. There's gonna be the opportunity for you to be able to create your own ofrenda, or maybe you've actually never celebrated the holiday. That's totally cool. That's also like why we're opening it up because sometimes we're also not given that opportunity.
Mhm.
So I'm really so yeah, November 1st, like 5 to 8ish p.m. Save the date.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. And we're going to lead into some outro right now and let you know about all the cool things we have here. But I just want to say thank you so much, Victor, for coming and giving us all
Yes.
this perspective and information. It's fun to see all the like we talked about the intersectionality and then finding even more. And then also, like we said, having a different view on things, but knowing that that work is still important and
Mm-hmm.
that even if it's not something I'm fixated on, I'm very happy and proud to have you here at the organization doing that work because someone needs to.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate it. I mean,
So that's going to be it for this episode. But next week, if you know her, you definitely love her. Her name is Ziomara La Gordita. And we're going to have a really fun episode next week at 3 o'clock again, September 22nd. And just, you know, some housekeeping here. We have a lot of services at Reach LA. Our primary one is HIV testing. If you all saw the photos that went up with all of us on it, we're all wearing some merchandise. If you are a part of our demographic, and that is Black and Latina, MSM, men who sex with men, trans people, and women, and between the ages of 13 to 29, call us at 213-622-1650 and get a appointment to schedule an HIV test or schedule an HIV test, you'll get $25 and a piece of that apparel of your choice. We have a lot.
Ow.
We have also, if you don't want to come and get tested for HIV because you know your status and you're positive, that's fine too. We have the Let's Get You to You program. If you're 29 years old or under, and again, Black and Latina, MSM, men who sex with men, and you're not virally suppressed, you don't know how to start that journey. And for those who don't know, you would take an antiretroviral medication every day, and you will get to undetectable status. And undetectable equals, you know this.
Untransmittable.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah,
I did it.
I definitely sprang that on you. But
I thought my narrative was over. I was like, I'm chilling
sorry.
now.
I wanted to tell you that. Undetectable is untransmittable. So we will help you get to that status, and we will pay you along the way to do it. So reach out at Dewan at reachla.org, DEJON at reachla.org, or Elio at reachla.org, ELIO, and they will help you get situated with that. You can also always just follow us on Instagram at reach_LA and send us a DM, Iggy, who is in charge of that, or is it Mariana? We have a whole communication department now. It's great. They've really expanded, which is why we're also able to produce great content like this. We're so grateful for them.
Thank you, communications.
100%. So definitely reach out if that is more of what you have going on. We have a TGI and, correct me if I'm wrong, trans and gender
And intersex?
and intersex health summit on November 2nd. So we are taking abstracts for that.
Yes.
And those are due, it's soon, September 18th. So definitely get those in. I have a quick little description if y'all are interested. And I say that to buy myself time because you're going to hear it anyways. This is a description if y'all want to submit these abstracts. They are accepting workshop abstracts that uplift the intersections of transgender, gender nonconforming, and intersex communities that highlight health and wellness, media, history, and policy and or advocacy.
Yes.
So send in those abstracts if you would like to present on November 2nd. Like I said, those are due November 18th. September 18th, thank you. Okay, director. Love it. Couple more things. We have right now in this same space and on this Twitch channel, we have been having a month of Smash Brothers here in the den at Reach LA. We had a staff brawl, we had a community brawl last week, and on Monday, after this weekend, we are competing against a fellow Reach LA program called the Meetup, which is for POC queer men to come and have discussions, but it's going to be our gamer night community versus theirs. So if you're already a part of either of those communities, come through and represent. There will be a winner. There's no prizes. So it's a friendly competition.
Right.
Bragging rights for sure. And if you haven't come to either of those, you're still more than welcome to come and just join one based on your identity or what you're feeling more that day. And all of that is leading up to September 27th. We're having a big Smash tournament, and that's the one with cash prizes. We have free food for y'all. I think we're doing some raffles. Yeah, there's going to be a lot going on, and we're going to be testing there as well, giving out money, apparel. I know you're kind of sitting here like, yeah.
No, I'm like, I'll be here for the raffle.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Registration is in the link on our Instagram bio. Again, reach_LA, and it's free. I can't stress that enough. It's free registration. If you are not confident in your skills, that's fine. Come make friends, come make community. Like, it's going to be a good time. It's a queer Smash night. It just is going to be a great time.
Come smash it up, y'all.
Yeah. A couple last things. We recently stocked up on Narcan. And we have fentanyl testing strips. So definitely test your substances. We have those for you. And just in case you didn't, we have Narcan. If y'all don't know, it is a nasal spray that will prevent an opioid overdose. So it's always good to just have on hand.
Yes. Every overdose is preventable, y'all.
Yes. And it's free. Just come ask us for it. We also have free therapy here for POC queer people. Yep.
Yes, mental health.
If y'all are interested in that, it's Aaron, AARON at reachla.org. He's the best. We have 3 or 4, I want to say, queer POC therapists waiting to help you with whatever it is that you want to talk about.
And it can be digital, y'all, so like whatever's most accessible, or if you prefer in person, just know that we can get accommodated to what style you prefer.
And then, what was the date as well for the Dia de los Muertos event?
November 1st, y'all. It's a Wednesday, so if you already come to the gamer night, come to this. And Dia de los Muertos is 2 days. It's November 1st, November 2nd, but we're going to be celebrating it on the 1st of Wednesday.
And that's all we have. Thank you all for receiving these reach arounds, and we hope that you've been satisfied.
Happy Friday, y'all.
Bye. Have a good weekend.
See all that precinct. I get it. Okay. We still on air?